Hey there, and welcome. If you've ever found yourself wandering through a narrow European street, you've probably seen one of these little guys buzz past and thought, what in the world is that? Well, it's a Piaggio Ape, and it's a vehicle that brings up a lot of questions. Today, we're going to answer the big one. Should you actually buy one? Let's dive in.
At first glance, it looks almost, comically simple. It's like a scooter had a baby with a pickup truck. But you can't let that charmingly basic design fool you. This little machine is a vehicle of extremes, pushing the absolute limits of what you'd think is possible in some really surprising ways.
And that really gets to the heart of the debate, doesn't it? Is this thing a genuinely tough, down-to-earth workhorse that can handle real jobs? Or is it just a quirky, kind of unstable novelty item that's honestly more trouble than it's worth? That's the core question we are going to unpack.
So here's how we're going to figure this out. We'll start with what the Ape actually is, then look at its amazing utility versus its performance trade-offs. We're going to tackle that big stability question head-on, look at its wild durability, and then wrap it all up with the final verdict.
Okay, first things first, let's be super clear about what we're actually dealing with here. It is absolutely crucial to understand that the Piaggio Ape TM is designed, built, and sold as a serious commercial vehicle. This is not a weekend toy.
Right off the bat, you got to understand the scale. A lot of people, when they think of an ape, they picture the tiny little one-seater Ape 50. But the TM703 model we're looking at today, it's a whole different animal. It's about twice as big, it's got 2 seats, and the engine is over 4 times larger. So yeah, this isn't some glorified moped, it's a proper light commercial vehicle.
And here's the key bit of technical info you need to know. It's officially classified under something called L5E homologation. Basically, that's the European category for 3-wheeled motorized tricycles. And this is so important because it means the Ape is engineered to a completely different set of rules than a regular car or van, which explains, well, it explains a lot.
All right, so with that official stuff out of the way, let's get to the Ape's greatest strength. Its absolutely incredible utility. I mean, this is where it really starts to shine as a serious tool.
And you can see right here just how adaptable this thing is. The Ape isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. Piaggio makes it in all sorts of factory setups, from the classic open-back pickup you see here to a fully enclosed van that's perfect for deliveries.
Now look at this number, 805 kilograms. Just let that sink in for a second. That's nearly 1,800 pounds. That is the maximum payload for the short deck model. I mean, think about it. This tiny vehicle that you could practically park in your kitchen can carry almost a ton of stuff. It's just an absolutely mind-boggling number for something this small.
So you see, it's this whole package that makes it so unique. You've got that insane payload, a really generous deck size that's just begging to be turned into something cool. And you can even choose between scooter-style handlebars or a regular steering wheel. It's really no wonder that the experts call it a perfect eye-catcher and a fantastic starting point for businesses like food trucks or mobile coffee stands.
But you know how it goes. There's always a catch. With any kind of engineering, there are trade-offs. And that massive carrying capacity, it comes at a pretty big cost. And that cost is performance.
At the heart of most of these apes is this little guy, a simple, air-cooled 218cc 2-stroke engine. It's a design that's all about being tough and simple, not about raw power. We are talking about 10 horsepower. Yeah, you heard that right, 10. It's not built for speed, it's built to haul, and it's hooked up to a very basic 4-speed manual gearbox.
And this number right here is the result of that engine. 64 kilometers per hour, which is right around 40 miles per hour. And I have to be crystal clear about this. That is not a suggestion. That is the absolute top-end engineered maximum speed of this vehicle. There's no pushing it past that.
So what does that hard speed limit actually mean in the real world? Well, it basically defines the Ape's entire existence. It is a tool designed for one very specific environment: dense, low-speed urban areas. Think ancient city streets in Europe, crowded markets, or big campuses. Taking this thing on a highway, it's not just a bad idea, it's just not what it was ever built to do.
Which, of course, brings us to the elephant in the room, the single biggest fear, the #1 question that everybody has about a 3-wheeled vehicle. So let's just go there. Let's tackle the stability question head-on.
You know, in the expert technical report we analyzed, they asked this question in the most direct way possible, using the common Turkish phrase, devrilir mi? Will it tip over? It's the question that sits right at the very heart of whether or not you should buy one of these. So here's the deal. The expert conclusion is actually fascinating. Yes, the risk of tipping over is 100% real. It's just baked into the design. A high center of gravity on a narrow three-wheeled base. But, and this is the part you really need to hear, it's not seen as a design flaw. It's a predictable trade-off. And that risk is managed almost entirely by you, the driver, through three really simple rules. Load your heavy stuff low and in the middle, slow down before you go into a turn, and just keep things like your springs and tires in decent shape.
And really, it all boils down to this one simple, memorable, and totally non-negotiable rule. The final word on safety from the experts is this: drive slow, load low. If you respect those two things, the vehicle is safe. If you ignore them, well, you're just asking for trouble.
So, after all that talk about risks, you might be thinking this thing is some kind of fragile little flower. But it's time to show you some incredible proof of the ape's underlying toughness. You would be dead wrong.
Get this. This is an incredible story that proves just how rugged these are. Back in 1998, to celebrate the ape's 50th birthday, a couple of adventurers drove two totally stock Ape TM vans all the way from Lisbon, Portugal to Beijing, China. And this was no scenic road trip. They covered 25,000 kilometers in about 200 days, crossing 20 countries on what the official records call hazardous and neglected roads.
The Piaggio Museum, which has all the history on this journey, concluded that the ape proved itself to be a reliable traveling and work companion. I mean, that's just undeniable proof right there. A vehicle that can survive a 25,000-kilometer trek across continents is not fragile. It is fundamentally tough.
All right, we've laid it all out. The incredible utility, the major performance limits, the risks you have to manage, and the proven toughness. So it's time to put it all together and answer that final question. Using that Turkish framing one last time, alınır mı, alınmaz mı? Do you buy it or not?
Here's the bottom line, and it really couldn't be clearer. The expert verdict is a resounding yes, absolutely buy one, if your main goal is localized, low-speed work where its unique look is a huge marketing plus. For a food truck, a promo vehicle in a city, it's brilliant, but it's a hard no. Do not buy one for any job that meets highway speeds, constant deliveries, or if you can't guarantee that the driver will be disciplined enough to respect its limits.
And that kind of leaves us with one last thought, doesn't it? After all the specs and the risk analysis, maybe we've been looking at it the wrong way. The fact that the ape can haul nearly a ton is amazing, for sure. But maybe, just maybe, its greatest feature isn't its payload at all, but its undeniable personality. That ability to make you smile and to stand out in a world full of boring white vans. What do you think?